So make sure to get raffle tickets. There's a lot of great prizes to be had there. And it really helps out the lab to contribute in those ways. Next up, we're going to bring up Robert Lashley. Robert was a 2016 Jack Straw Fellow, Artist Trust Fellow, and a nominee for a Stranger Genius Award. His books include Green River Valley from Blue Cactus Press, Up South from Small Doggies Press, and The Homeboy Sings, also from Small Doggies. His poetry has appeared in the Seattle Review of Books, Nailed, Poetry Northwest, McSweeney's, and the Cascadia Review, and recently in the Cascadia Field Guide, which has been on the bestseller list for 40 weeks. In 2019, Entropy Magazine named The Homeboy Songs one of the 25 essential books to come out of Seattle. In September of 2024, his novel, I Never Dreamed in Summer, was selected as a finalist for a Washington State Book Award. And about Robert's work. Robert Lashley's poems brim with all the fiery vision of an OG prophet thrown in amongst the bones and ghosts strewn from the Anglican storefronts and Amazon traps of generations of gentrifiers. He sings these poems like Orpheus in a moving river of altars, agonizing the endless city phantasms of gods and demons and menageries of ruin and self-preserved youth, just to feel an aliveness among abandonment and displacement and the inevitable decay of all the metaphors choked into self-serving drama. Yet, listen, boy, the soul claps, that gut bucket, them drums, and Robert sings the living code of briar patches and cymbal Sunday songs and work grind tone poems until we can hear that heavenly host swing from death's gates to play trombone, and those dry bones begin to move a two-step kingdom from memory. And the world will be lit by our neon upper room with the rosebush thrones and colonnades of sage that turns self-righteousness to cosplay and melts the weapons of police oppression, every 44 revelation trumpet to a moving river of altars. In these songs, you can feel love's alchemy, in which transitions linger there as specters of unbearable beauty. In the cardboard threshing floor at 11th and MLK, and the suspension of the mind and body, what is all an infinite glow spins from Keds to jewels to constellations in a neighborhood communion cosmology where language outlasts revolutions if you make it new and human. Please welcome Robert Lashley.
Damn, that's Steve Harvey. I landed on you. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here. I want to read you a few poems and one tribute to me on your hair. The first two poems I'm going to read is from my new manuscript. It's called "There Is an OG More Ancient Than Eden." They're two from a character that talks to me. You know, William Butler Yeats had Cold Chain, and I got Gold Chain. He looks like Tupac, but he's 10 feet tall, and he kind of has he has angel wings, and he has black angel wings and flies. And sometimes he comes to me and gives me poems. These are two poems that he gave to me. And this poem is called "Gold Chain." Talks to the homeboy about Nepsis and the resurrection. It was the second day his father rested, Bobby. Disbelievers swept the city for witnesses. Cocks crowed to the minute loved ones hid but could not part with any more blood. In the second Passover, they could not sacrifice for the hell of the absurd called judgment. But the sisters rose amid a night of falcon wings. and the wailing women turned to harps that transmogrified and howled the earth's axis. They burned white hieroglyphs that flew over rocks to make their cave enclosure signs. And after the circle came and left Bobby, the sun, upon his return, was swept by cartographers masquerading as friends, idolaters waving their wild-cut palms to block him from the arms of his mother. Blocked from the heresies of Magdalene's arms, the son kept his head on a swivel. The father again turned his depravity to myth. The son once again dreamed of his exit. Thank you. This next poem, sometimes, Gold Chain is really bold. He can do things like go to hell and cuss out the devil about guns. And this is the poem that Gold Chain is cussing at the devil about guns and human nature. Do you gaze at them, Lou? Do you see your majors? Do you, in this marriage of technology and filth, still see your pious virtues? Or did you, at his hem, in the middle of the bargain, see us as sepia statues? Do you see your kingdom? Did it really begin as a burn? Did your tools in the lot he set explode and not clash at your tantrums and whims? Did you sharpen the line edges of circle cages and borders as an ode to your despairing self? Do you tell all the nihilists to raise imperfections because without the human, you have nothing left? Did you see your perfection and left workers in their baskets? Did you see the show trials and show trials before and their bodies gone to market? Did you plan with kings and common butchers performative projections budget? Did you break in silence at his numbered almonds, or was it amazed approbation? Do you still see us, Lou? Do you still agonize over us? Do you still roar at God with his sloppy errant eye in our lot and rituals and symbols? Do you still want to break, burn, and rebel? Or do you really just despair and let go? Thank you. This next poem is called The Doctor Who First Described Charlie Parker Trying to Get Out of Heaven and Into the Underworld. Daniel's dream songs are not to be remembered. Temples, mezzanines, and wayward cantors are bereft of promised lands and gardens. Rituals move hollow without annunciation in mangers, juke joints, and concert halls. The man in linens who never blew too loud, we steered to the winding sheets. The multitudes who lay at his throne and feet, their sorrow songs are on his scales. Let me in so the world and spirits make sense. I cracked the Gospels and Gabriel has come. Second comings amassed in bottles and prescriptions. Staffs and bonds turn synonyms for God in the fatherless arms of night gurneys. Rebirthed dream boys and needle queens fly in arcs from hills to hospital fires. Galilee is a howling, glittery wilderness of drunken laughter and eternal throngs. Let me recuse from the sounds I've sinned against. I cracked the Gospels and Gabriel is gone. What manner of man can break people's song, Lord? What manner can break planes of spirits and bodies? What fires will pall through all space and time if I walk from the rough sides of the mountain? What will bound all sound and sense if my bones aren't the embers of tomorrow? If my med quota is the lasting price, will songs like his last horns be pawned? Take my heart, my body, and my minimums. I cracked the Gospels, and Gabriel is gone. Thank you. I'm going to read from the Green River Valley. This poem. It's also the Cascadians in Volume 2. This poem is called Song of the Triple OG Bird Rescue Man. Blood is a color that mixes late September. It turns the concrete of the late sunset mass. It makes a mass of brothers and blackbirds. The OG in white will take them. It's on the wings of those beat and broke in migrations. Those caught up in wounds and rickety structures. Those lost in aromas, poisons, and intoxicants, elusive until they couldn't breathe. The OG in white will bring them home. Elusive is the errant gangster disciple as he watches his pavement of red. Elusive, his second act with body bags. Elusive, his church with invisible chimes and his yellow tapes fluttering in the leaves. Dust to dust, coloring everything around it. Lord, I'll go sweeping through the city where my hood brothers have rolled before. The old man claps in cleaner particles and become a set of flying nightbirds. The old man claps and ruins the playground become neither ruins nor a playground. The arcs of the busted jungle gym lift and resheath their pipe swords. Lift every rock that interacts with his ash as the swing set tunes stop their hanging. At dusk, homegoings are everywhere. Agony moves through the Anglican storefront. Agony lies still in the gravel. Doughboys barely make their stops. Dope fiends run to the water. At dusk, the OG finds place after place to give rosaries and proper burials. I will stand someday by the river. Won't be back on this block no more. The OG in white will take them. The OG in white will bring them home. One more poem. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you like what you hear, you can buy a book and contribute to the most pointless charity of all time, the Robert Lashley Coffee and Scones Fund. I want to read a paying a tribute to a poet. I come from the housing projects of Tacoma, Washington, and I grew up at a time, a very rough time, but I also grew up with readers who gave me the word and the written word and beauty salons, and who had almost 3/4 of a century of knowledge. And their hero is someone that is put up with all the wonderful poets that we lost. Her name was Colleen McElroy, and she gave like hoodlums like me an example of how you can see the world and grapples the world through art. And if you can't put into words how much I'm grateful for the Cascadia Poetry Festival for almost single-handedly, bringing her work back in the conversation in the Northwest. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to read one of her poems called Lothar's Wife. He's only a smartass when he's home with Mandrake. He's silent and obedient as a snail. His bald pate bowing into the Cape's trail and dreaming of tales he bore me on his one night home. Once a month, that's when I get like clockwork, and always on the full moon, half my allowance he reserves for sheets, tearing them with his teeth to vent the forced silence of those 20 odd days. Did I say odd? Except one day that's odd. He's coming home full of half tricks he's picked up from his master. The hypnotic hunger he really tries on me. He claims he stole me, bought me, claims he's Zulu, Bantu, Beja, depending on the hour, day, or year. Says I was the black spot in the light of his eye. The speck he turned into leopard. They unwillingly turned into woman. Neither one of us no longer knows what's real. And my mother beats her fat tongue against her gums. Each month I try to reveal the puzzle, stroking the lines from his hairless obsidian crown. I hear her rumbling around in the next room. I soothe his sweet head and she moans, "Heaven protect us from all the things to which we can become accustomed." Thank to her, and I thank her, and I thank all of you. Good night.
Let's give it up again for Robert Lashley. Robert, you really break down the gospel there, kind of like Charlie Parker there in that poem. It's really great. Next up, we've got Vancouver poet and novelist Daphne Marlatt, who's published some 20 poetry titles, 3 novels, as well as Canadian version of a Japanese no play, The Gull, and a no-inspired libretto for 4 Vancouver composers, Shadowcatch. Her long prose poem, The Given, won the 2009 Dorothy Livesay Award, and in 2012 she was awarded the George Woodcock Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2017, Talon Books published in her title her collected poems 1968 to 2008, edited by Susan Holbrook. She is a longtime Tibetan Buddhist practitioner under the guidance of Zesep Tulku Rinpoche. And about Daphne's work. We're alive only in some place in particular, Daphne Marlatt observes in her poem Alive in her recent poetry collection, Then Now. If present, even if newly arrived in others long inhabiting here. Her near 60 years of writing, including over 30 books of poetry, prose, and criticism, is in the service of that long inhabitation and continual re-inhabitation of place-time, what 13th century Zen priest Dogen called the time being, of the particularity of embodiment, what she's referred to as a more biocentric consciousness. Her poems meditate on such rich, concrete, yet luminous details of West Coast life in late capitalist Vancouver, expressing all the blood smears in the dark dirt, the very point of mutable life diverting into death, to be steamed in cans, but still always pushing the limits of diction and syntax away from the pedantic, the theoretical, to open up multiplicity simply there, the physical matter of the place, what matters, meaning. Open all the dead histories to the living, to the textures of others' experience, the room or the rhythms and associations of memory within contexts now utterly changed, even disappeared by the settler mindset that seeks to subdue the environment with the endless drumming of technology and industry, churning out canned life, much like the salmon of the Stevenson cannery she once wrote so movingly about. Her poems unsettle us, leave us in and out of the uncanny stream of herness, pulling in all the verbosity and constraint, the fear and vulnerability, emptying out to a surround so intimately within us. We're in it. It's in us, that lavish, that ample. Please welcome Daphne Marlatt.
I have never been at a poetry reading where the introductions were so amazingly woven into the work of the poet being introduced. Thank you, Matt. These are diverse poems, a sort of divertimento that I want to offer to you. First of all, I'll begin with an excerpt from the no libretto, Shadowcat, which has been performed twice in Vancouver. No plays are very poetic plays, which is what drew me to them. It's a classical form of theater in Japan. And a no play is usually about a significant, even life-ending event in the life of the central person. Because I was working with 4 different composers, I had to tweak the no form considerably. So each had an act of their own, and all of the acts were set in what used to be called Powell Street Ground, Paolo Grando in the dialect of the Japanese population living around it. And one act is about the baseball team, all Japanese Canadians, the Asahi ball team, which became a champion ball team. They played in Seattle. And this is one character's memory of the last game before they were interned and the team scattered during World War II. Paolo Grando, home ground for the Asahi. 1, 2, 3, most popular ball team in the city. Before the war, broke up the team and turned in scattered camps inland, some here, some there. We never stopped playing. We trained new young ones, but the news forgot us, wrote us off as if we were dead. This field is where it happens over and over, benches packed, bases loaded, out in left field, cheering spectators park for Frank's brilliant catch. 5-footers all, we leap, we catch, and when we're up, we bunt. Harry's suicide squeeze. We win again against long-legged, big-hitter teams. They don't run so fast. And our fans clap. Hakajin too, all recognize true. Yamato Damashi, true, excelling for love of the game. Team caps, team uniforms, white shine naphtha scrubbed by ardent sisters, new peer cafe jokes and rivalries for girls eager to dance to grace Belcara picnics on a star player's arm, twilight closing in. We work days for our dads when not in school. We hauled miso tubs, 100-pound sacks of rice, unloaded truckloads of cans before and after practice. We lived for the game. So long ago. We lived inside that glory. Local stars we were, shooting through the unseen dark, fear clouds massing out beyond the field where we played ball, bright ball. Today in the workshop that Fredwa and I did at Subud House, I read 4 lines from a sequence of poems based on walking meditation. And these were written quite a while ago, sometime around 1997. And I'd like to, because they were only 4 lines, there are 5 poems altogether. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll read 2 of them. And they all begin with each begins with the self-instruction about how to move the foot when you're walking so slowly and you're walking in a circle with other people. And you have to have your pace exactly attuned to the pace of those others if you're walking in a small living room. Lift, step, drop, this never-ending speed. It's in a hook, some flash, cognition, continuity. Leap onto the next crosscut any side street offers. Rhyme a glance, solid, chair leg stays. Carpet hot under sock by gas fires, 1920 rose. Arise once out of American eyes, no fumble, that neo-rosary, a hooker, all toes. Slow unfold, incessant seesaw, glitch, then shift on left. White toes rolling, stretch, slow moment, momentum, meaning, oh, that catch, not so close. Scarlet calves in perfect sync, say, a pass, a handout. Rose, rose, the story goes. Old ever saw, once seen, withdraws, so ground the heel, slow, lift and wait to let it go. Lift, step, set. The pace at inchworm, packed momentums, rhyme won't quit. Danny Kaye say Saturday matinee lineup, anticipate capri pants lycra now, or drawstring loose at ankle, swing step, or roll that looser ball over. Glow, little glowworm, glows a curve that throws you. So rotate a slight wheel macro now as micro turns. Shimmer, shimmer, we lean clockwise, each your own procession trailing. Dimmer, dimmer, low lights banked in fog. This self, this slight twist in knee means lift the endeavor spine, a cowl, habit set by knowns, no vespers now. None chimed in the 50s, oh, bent. Ambient, circle, white lunch, teacup, walkabout, repeat, time's drowse, the language douse, and not for keeps. It was an attempt to convey how difficult it is to turn the mind off. Liquidities is a reissue of an earlier book of mine, Vancouver Poems, and it has some more recent poems added to it. I want to read one of those to you. It starts off with a passage about the North Shore Mountains, and it names several of them, including translation of the Squamish name for one of them. And then it moves into some of the history of the city. Through cloud, white chalk, blue grouse, willowware, shades glaze those two-facing sisters, Hyas Bakamak, renamed, couchant, imperial, untracked crown, lose legalized, so close down Maine tonight, hope, snows, veins, eyes loose, change, names liquid, drippings long gone and rebuild, demolished, reconstructed, the city market dream, the locals by early water under bridge, no willow, sole, perch, sturgeon at False Creek Point, slaughterhouse, then sawmill, muck, market, a market econo, oh, who managing whose house it runs down to, emerge, a metro built on labor's back, on brick or wood slats, splits and bling now wallow in stock, collapsed concrete, drips snow, line no show, line down blue, shopping or shipping out, all water under the bridge, capitalized on. Suez Max tanker traffic, liquid asset runoff, liquid is city, smelt, Ulica near gone. It's warming up, so grab a rain hat, once cedar, see raining oils long reach, it rains for free, still it rains. This is the book for the raffle, in the raffle, reading Sveva. Sveva Caetani was a remarkable Italian-Canadian painter who lived in the Kootenays and taught school, elementary school there, but was an extraordinary, basically self-taught painter. She did a whole series of 56 allegorical paintings about life as a journey. And those are all held in a museum in Alberta. In one of those later canvases before she died in the 90s, there happens to be a self-portrait of her as an artist. And there's a lot of letters painted over her standing body there. So this poem actually is a description of that painting. I'm going to read that and a sort of coda that follows it. The subject. Oh, and this involves, it also quotes from her writing about her work. The subject. You can never know, or abject. Shadow woman, she stands alone, barefoot, listening, right hand clasping her other wrist. Those long legs, long arms, they're yours, head down, waiting for the vibration you call God in a universe of vibration and wave. In the pain of arthritic wrists, hand that won't hold a brush to precision strokes, clasping a wrist, a rest. In wave upon wave of descending letters. The subject you have given up, in this the third to last you paint, not language in its receding tide line need to make sense of this complex transience in life is. Only love, large across knobby knees. The human self-image, not even valid as a discord. Voices surround you, children, those you taught to see what seeing can create. Vari-colored worlds you're beginning to leave, but hear the prompt through portages of pain, headwaters of lostness. Wave that lifts, shakes, limbs in audible caress, wind rush you love, the this coming in, to subside into empty air again. For now, taking that step across into landscapes of which we are both the extension and the abbreviation, particulars grown luminous, only breath and an opening. I have a small letterpress book coming out from Chax Press, and I thought I'd read some poems from it. This This is a poem with quite long lines. It looks like prose. I like long lines. I don't often write them anymore. And it's about, I want to read this because hearing the poem that Fred brought to the workshop this morning, which was a kind of haiku, well, it was longer than a haiku, a waka, about that ends with pear blossom. I wanted to bring this one. It's about the cherry trees, the Japanese cherry trees that bloom every spring in my part of the city that I live in Vancouver. What might be? Fragile and too sparse for cloud effect, Kanzakura, is it? Almost white. Stamens punctuated, scattered blossom float ahead of some already shed, shredding weeks of petal light on dark pine shadow we walk on. More likely, Prunus moving, delicate friend of winter, skirting pine's heavy branch, so mayhem, resilient and persevering, so limbo's scattered shadows, memories here, its starburst stamens predict more apricot than plum. Ah, those small wine-colored ones we kids picked from garden marabellum, wondering plums, were nothing of Umiboshi's pucker lips, or limbo's moonlight view, or winter's delicate apparition. These generations lashed in late spring rains. Ghost presence on the East End street, a fragile future. These eyes caress the pathos of things, and the return through indifferent fog, rain, onslaught, frost, a promise holding what might be in this 11th hour of earth gloom. This turns out, I'm speaking on the panel about Phyllis Webb tomorrow. She's a very young photograph of Phyllis Webb is on the shrine there. And she was one of our major poets on the cruise. So this is a poem called Playing It Out for Phyllis Webb, and it begins with a quote from her last book, Hanging Fire. Homo ludens at play among the killing fields of dry grasses. You're to frolic among the F's unsworn, clips of language, sharp or flat. A tense alliance attending to subliminal moves at play. In question, history's morbid repeats, voice some other enmesh response. In what unbearable rising heat lyric gives way to the practice, seeing, not seeing, done, undone. And this one, further commentary for Phyllis Webb. Pine's one, this also embeds a couple of quotes from one of her poems. Pines, one could say, soul pines, but who? Is that you, Phyllis? Your mulberry tree with innocent eyes, catalpa with your huge hands. Who would not look back at me, your signatory glance, enmeshed in our blue planet now ransacked, your interstellar longings, the mutual recognition, each to each, without name and, or more simply, let's say, sheer event. And I'm going to end with three very new poems. I have to explain about the reference to Crawford Lake in Ontario here. It's a meromictic lake, which means that it's very unusual. It has layers of water. It's a deep lake that has layers of water that do not intermix. So that means that when we do core samples of the different layers, we're actually going back into the planet's history. That quick. Creating a game against current, moment by moment, this interplay. Absent of what? Planet memory layered in meromictic Crawford Lake, Barb's core detail, Middle Ages corn pollen, long before so-called Ontario's urban given mixed overlay on indigenous, where climate prompts goldfinch early turning green, swarm in birch-shade momentary. This before river rains forecast us. Soon to open. As you probably have heard, Vancouver's growing at a phenomenal rate. There are so many people moving into the city, and there isn't enough housing. Housing costs have soared. The city is encouraging all these condo buildings to be created to house all the people who don't have housing. Soon to open. Massive thrust up into skies, empty, hardly. A mass concrete condo aerial bunkers bunked down in. Affordable. Displace Earth's affordances, or deep buried to scale, waters running, rushing runoff, hammering down years, buried sand, clay, unseen under. Oikos in economies lost indoor housing us. Hitched in this planetary eco-marriage we earthbound ignore. Twilight's double message. Tree peepers full scale. Windbeats above. Thank you.
Fred is a BC poet who has been writing and publishing since the early 1960s. His early work is collected in Scree, the collected earlier poems, 1962 to 1991. More recently is a collaboration with Rhea Wong, Beholden, a poem as long as the river, and a series of improvisations, music at the heart of thinking. And about Fred's poems. Follow the path of Fred Bois' reeling mountain burning mind, and you'll see you don't know what a fucking tree is. If you think it's only in your head, you're full of shit. If you put your wet boots on that shit-strewn trail, you better keep walking, then go into it and into it. Turn in and twist deeper the head's nerves. Take off the thought's eyes. Go in, go in. Try to be the place. The actual shape of such appearances are home. Fall into them. Recognize it now as love. That's what goes on. That's what goes on in the eyes along the road, the map plots in Paleolithic pictographs of mountain eyes, tree eyes, eyes of the world whirling. How does this jazz go? The image, like a root, is moving through the darkness of the soil, nerves, and soul. A labyrinth of continually revealing meanings are available. A place that offers more possibility than we can be sure we can know. The insignia of a chickadee and a constipated ant. What was in the world around here became larger, some part of it, then all of it, even more beautiful, bigger, hiding between the words and lines, and in a margin large enough for further thought. Music at the heart of thinking. Go ahead. Please welcome Fred Block.
That was quite a collage of stuff. I thank Matt. Can I get a copy of that?
Sure.
Anyway, I'm so grateful to be here at Cascadia. It's become a major door for a lot of us writers and artists and thinkers in this part of the world. And I want to read tonight from because I have never done it before, never had the chance to do it before. I'm going to read this poem, Beholden, a poem as long as the river. I just want to talk a little bit about that first, explain it. It's the result of a project that I did with another Vancouver poet, Rita Wong. We traveled the Columbia River from its origins in Columbia Lake up in the East Kootenay down to where it meets the Pacific Ocean between Oregon and Washington, and we wanted to write to the river. She wrote on one side of the river, and I wrote on the other side of the river. So the book is designed as one long poem, one long image of the river, and I think Ryan is going to. Oh, he's already got it up here. There it goes. She wrote on one side of the river, and I wrote on the other. And then every once in a while we'd come to a bridge and cross over and so forth. Anyway, I've never had the opportunity to read the poem in its entirety, and I hope you can. I know it's been a long night. Bear with me. It's just language. It'll go. It'll move pretty fast. The Columbia River is something that Canada and the United States share, and it's bound by the Columbia River Treaty, which was signed in 1964. It was given 50 years, so it ended in 2014, and then they were given 10 years to renegotiate. They've done the renegotiation, and we're going to hear about what the renegotiated treaty is sometime this year. Of course, one of the big things is we want the salmon back, and there's been a great push from the Indigenous people all along the river, both Canada and the United States, to bring the salmon back, as well as to pay more attention to the river as a living thing, rather than as something that's going to produce electricity to make Boeing airplanes or whatever. Listen, on my way to get a pail of water down by the creek, ba-dum, Columbia River starts humming its invisible Kootenai chi path. Breathing what exists through itself is called as is. Meaning going to the water. Here's the cadence as a wet prelude to Pacifica. Meanders slow and murmurs love. The skin of Earth's contour. Hello, sister tongue. Hello, winding ear. Flahaya, goodbye, mother. Goodbye, weaving woman. Hello, David Thompson. Now this quiet water maps diesel along the marshes of locomotion, crossing north down the map of the River of Heaven, Steamboat Mountain. Are you worried about a future, Nowitka? Truly every edge does water make these islands of its life mean how to know the shape it's in. Along the cut bank, bang past the pole yard at Briscoe, the river toxic, sad, those treated poles are not canoes, not spilling their machines into the forest that floats through the truck dream of logs fed by these creeks, singing Jubilato Riparian along the shores of Hog Ranch Channel, but breathe to Naha name the water with a sigh. This wetland interface, desired shrubs and grasses, long harrowed through the steppes, long-haired trough that sleeps through Rocky Mountain Trench, hello Horse Creek, feeding free love to the downstream greed and power. This north of Hunger water is, oh golden, golden morning, Far off, Tiananmen Square turns to Wanping's kinship of rivers, whose borders are altitude and flow, along the Pleistocene shale of hydraulic memory, lines sloshing through the oxbow's soul in Wadavit Creek, while sea to shining sea bulldozes through this gifted passage, through the rivers, though the river is not part of the scheme, when necking and axe handle, the image is sometimes too far off, deep as a double hook, baited with what the reservoir knows, that to return here is to respect here, reaching for the right language, shh. So don't say a word. Our ancestors didn't forget us after all. They'll remember the future ghosts of ourselves, gathered to collect promised payback. But we get data instead of bull trout beneath the reach. The kokanee listen to the muffled rumbling of the train above. Nothing comes only in pieces. Even the water at the bottom of this reservoir won't inundate the Shuwepnik with that Big Bend thirst. How to explain the irony of this adamantine river, slipping past the concrete of contradiction just to exist through itself? Listen to the golden gravel of Louis Lee Creek, sluice this river to El Dorado. Stubborn as a mule, while CPR money from these mountains cashes in on this reservoir of juice, performs an alternating current, a many-headed opioid of twisted cable to the other side, a surface black of back and forth. Should that be cold stream or gold stream? Deep in our own thoughts, how to think like a sturgeon spawning for the very first time. Focus on how breathing holds the heart for that loud Pacific tide we won't forget. Downstream, there's gratitude in those overhead wires. We need to shuffle the tiles, but Monashi is not a valid Scrabble word. Across the lake and the other shore, sight seeing marches on, watching for a period at the end of this floating sentence. How do you ask the river the right question when the water's a mirror? Watch the river from the bridge. When you move, river stays. But listen closely who talks back. We'll call this lake reveal instead. So damn the consequences. The seal will beach their canoes, and the pictographs move up the bank to the silence of a granodiorite wall. Just think of the river as a hyphen to the other shore, an apostrophe, a cable or cave to swim into. You might say it's the home you have left. According to BC Hydro, the river stones were painted by number, and we can spectate the spectaculara by standing on top of the powerhouse over the visitor center. Whose house and whose home now? Big Eddie says to the logger who thinks from the heart. Become like water, my friend. Now heading home, I want to shout, hello, Grandpa. Goodbye, Cable Ferry. Thanks for this naming, Conopin. Sinix and Knapalix. Thanks for washing out that logging road and protecting the old growth cedars. Such nominative powers worth more than the mathematics of extraction. Someone's village has become Mud Lake. Bull trout's waiting for some silt-free water. How are you, blue canvas, shaking in the dust? Just call the wetland back. Find a river you can trust. Where are you, duckweed? You can't grow here anymore. The sloughs are gone. The birds have disappeared. Sang goodbye to the cottonwood snore. So, the shore is sad and silent. Many dreams drown in this reservoir. Using water this way is violent. What's happened to the kokanee? The spawning channel's flooded. Now the river is just a mirror of how our greed's cold-blooded. These arrow lakes filled up and killed the estuaries of the creeks, flooded fields of grass and drowned the orchards, submerged ancestral Sinix graves. Those people in the way declared extinct. It's true. Old Scott Swamp, old family farms, old game trails, just a memory silted down and dried to dust at drawdown. Shelter Bay, no shelter after all. This valley could be filled with love. All lonely animal eyes at Caribou Point, rolling up for a new road. So sing the blues to be this river, washed in misery, loss, and sadness. Not breathing deep, just silent nights alone. How much you'll miss the touch of salmon red and sedge-grass edge, the churning of the Minto up to Arrowhead. And then the burning too, yeah. Ain't this dam messed up your plan to keep this spirit flowing with respect? Will the riparian ever be repaired? Will the salmon ever return? Has the river taught us nothing? When will we ever learn? Kootenai, home again, at last to Kapitlatz, old Alex Christian's home, a brilliant place for reconciliation. The Buckelberg water mellow as the river relaxes into its skin between the dams. The valley dry past China Creek, another name a race for race. Remember, the saltpeter's whistled offside, for years of pollution flowing south across the border, as tainted as the signature of treaty, and all the forked tongues whispering the doctrine of discovery. Not a rival, but a river. Not a period, but a bullet. Not a war, but a workforce. Not a treaty, but a trick genome. Not the floods of 48, but be prepared. Not the International Joint Commission, but the Army Corps of Engineers. Not waving, but drowning. Not a list or listening. Dear Morning Dove, thank you for the history. Thanks for sharing your Salishan story. While standing in the doorway, not doing any harm, you show this river as a map of white and black. No trespass signs, no treaty can talk its way out of. But a river's there for crossing. See those postcards of the people spearing salmon in the falls, sold for the black and white of difference. So from the river's mouth comes treaty talk, a scat song of high modernity riffing to a muffled humming underwater, while we contemplate a snag in the grand plan. No, it's a logjam full of indefinite articles, a flume or a flame of intention to remind us that it is the idea that is to be perfect, not the boat ramps of recreation on the shores of the reservoir. Is the Reservation Bitter General Allotment Act? Bitter Executive Order? Turtle Island bitten by its own rapids north of Orakpan Creek, trickling into Franklin's Coulee Enterprise, a corkscrew into the canyons of intention, the fork of tongue talking treaty. How are we going to dislodge the fishing wear of nation long enough to regain sincerity? Yes, just shake your head side to side like a sparrow, but travel close to the river to see your reflection and listen to Spokane poet Gloria Bird say, "What we owe, we owe." I feel stuck on this side of the river and can't get over that debt of equity ratio to the shoreline rising of. After all the talking's done and the memory fades, this flat water doesn't need to listen to that thirst for nation and the repetitive hammering of the grand plan's gavel, or the thud of ambivalence that irrigates my ears as if a lake would rather be a city. Don't let the names replace the reflection of intention. Could it really be as simple as out under the apple tree? And don't stand in ceremony or bite your tongue, but remember to return those salmon bones to the water, turning truth into a verb. Silk, green murmurs spoken of in poet Jeanette Armstrong. Toward this knowing that you are the great river as is. And right about here, is where Coyote had his hand bitten after feeding salmon to the people. Listen to what Rattlesnake learned about thirst from the river. Stand still in the clarity of this quiet water, silk toes pointed downward. The smell of the heat is Okanagan sage. Stafford's Lethal River plaque at the end of Isthmus. This river is the way home. Drive on past the asphalt parking lot. Serenity. The cherries from the fruit stand still alive, so ripe and so juicy. Try to hear what the river says as we spit the pits into the irrigated grass, the air heavy and mesmerized as the sprinklers click under a cloud of insecticide, sprayed over the orchards while the river hums. The living is easy. They could have called it Lake Enterprise. Instead, the river hears the packing houses, cracked boxes clatter along its banks with a pickup of pickers on the dusty side road. It's what we hear and usually what we say, but nadie ne comprende. The river's voice is the sound our body makes when we're sleepwalking through the abyss of our own presence in the world. Flesh against bone, water over bedrock. Even if the rapids are gone, this water is the story we must tell ourselves. We have to think we hear the silence. Trust the undertow to be real. Know the rusty blackbird on the wire does not plan to drown tomorrow. Despite our grand plans, our irrelevant expectations, the river invents itself a mighty fine current of thought where the words are names. The river doesn't need the lyrics to rock on a line, to ripple the trace of falls that joins Squelchut Creek, to riddle at the basalt. Doesn't stop to think. Couldn't wait to get to voltage to resist the analogy that you can learn to swim by climbing a ladder. the pressure to stay afloat or drop like a stone? Is this the work of translating hydraulic? Listen downstream and upstream before crossing. The Wallapan have learned to live alongside the ginkgo and put up with the white man's spelling mistakes. The advantage being they know this river will still be here long after we have turned the nuclear dust and blown away, save for the river. And like a flood will recede and leave us in the reach, clutching at straws, or at least the grapevines along the wall loop slope, interpolating my name to listen closely as I scan the bluffs from Missoula erratics, lines scattered aimlessly over Nagasaki. Let's reach for the solace of water, to find some deep pool of larger memory that will float us past Savage Island. Fishing for some reconciliation with the osprey and the cutthroat. This neighborhood's too busy. We've parked this nightmare all over Isla Tortuga. Should have listened to Snowholla's advice. Those who work cannot dream. Except this river's working overtime. In its go with the flow MO and its maximum flow efficiency is always channel hopping. It's not the map of our street of dreams. Subtract the cities. The neighbor's waterline blurs the other shore. The fork tongue slurs the deltas of detritus. Just talk. Such talk is just another boundary. The river's not Wallula's, not a gap to shop in, but a gate to be in. Gate of to and gate of from, entrance and exit, the flow, the discharge, the access, the egress, the mountains of the blessed, the winds of chi, mouth of yin and eye of yang, the liver, the stomach, the core and the surface, the rock and the lake. These are the gates, and you can either kick them open or walk through in silence. Same diff. Inside out, this basalt lava bends into water, shears the folds and folds beneath this border bridge. Hello, Rita. Nice to see you on the other shore. Not drowning, but waving over this ghost of impoundment, whose desire was inundated by the backwaters of reconnaissance, just like the denison of these reservoirs. The pike minnow got its name back from bigotry, rippling in the shoals of a militant taxonomy. Your voice drowned in the Union Pacific diesel on the other shore, while we both gaze at this water for the ear of the other, and meditate the forgotten thinking of the river's language, not its meaning after all, but how to dive through its unthought surface into the deep as is. Or was always lending its own aiminess, a vocabulary of leftovers in the mud, a polluted memory of its pure Kootenai percolation, part of the same beaver system, fur quivering, now seems as clear as the imaginary state line that runs down the middle, affirming the nation's strength and infinite possibility, with the clues in Missoula spread out for the eye. Another power magic the river reveres, or something like a fairy over shining water, more often present and gone than done or will do. For once you move and the river listens to water slap stone, the chuff of a raven echoes over the lake. In and out the afternoon shadows lengthen. Across the river, a truck moves above the sun, echo of Wyam Falls. The unthought thinking, blurry anamorphic river cliffs, or maybe the river's tongue could be the dream grammar, tumbling out some final blueprints to the dream's property. The very gravel against this humming at the heart of thinking, not getting there, home again, to the storm of the ear, that stellar steering of the passage junction block genetic, feeding at the creek mouth as we wait with the salmon for the final coordinates. But we get the signal crossed, trying to listen to the lullaby of Wadwin Falls and continue to displace the lexicon of water with the grammar of herring. When I will be water, and words like soul, air, breath, mind, my underwater gurgles over creek rock, trying to log in until the river sounds like a Sunday drive as it feeds itself into its own moan, a line with body followed and flowed down mouth, the way the creek did. Ah, river, are you weary with time? Is the paradigm too simple to rhyme with the human river? What subterranean trickle is tracking the needed code to radio the salmon coming home? I know these words just turn you into metaphor, walk of ages. How to defend you and me from a language edited as news. Do those deer sweating the rock wall river mean anything beyond the barge? It's not the river's voice, it's government. An island standing in the way, a crow pecking plastic from the dumpster behind Taco Bell. Just off the I-5, the river's voice ignores the quiet secrecy along Lakeshore Drive. No balderdash, no idle chit-chat with another national wild refuge. This mighty voice refuses to negotiate, but sings a little harmony. Under the squealing wheels of the Portland and Western Railroad, there's no hymn to the falling river. So where are these words coming from? Is that an international echo in the back eddy? Are the police still chasing almighty voice? When the line disappears, talk to the hook. By now we know you're not pure and you just make it up. Sometimes I feel unlucky, even grateful to have listened hard for the river's voice. But sometimes it's just those gulls or children screaming from the green forked tongue point, not the voice of the river that moaned Cape Disappointment in 1788. When the river sang clear, shining water, those Europeans could have heard its visionary recital that this river is the way home, the return to what we have left, that this is the place where I come from. I was on my way to get a pail of water. Down by the creek, I heard a hum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Hello, ocean, river's mouth. Thanks for listening to the stream of words becoming surf, and now the river's voice is free to roar within the sound of silence. Thank you.